America's full of bustling cities, overpriced suburbs, and places where your neighbor's dog has an Instagram. But what about the towns where no one lives? No lines, no traffic, no humans? Here's the thing, some towns got abandoned for good reasons. Fires underground, failed economies, or just straight up ghost vibes. And yet they're still there, waiting, watching, collecting dust, and probably raccoons. Today, we're diving into 10 of the eeriest, emptiest towns in the US, the kind of places where your GPS gives up before you do. One town is split between two states, and neither wants it. Another has a fire burning underneath it. Still, since the 60s. And there's a whole mining town just chilling in Alaska. Like it's frozen in time. Literally. Think you know the best cities? Let's find out. And trust me, you're not ready for what's next. Choosing wrong could cost you thousands, or your sanity. No pressure. Like this video because it's cheaper than therapy and twice as unsettling. Subscribe if you enjoy learning survival tips from a guy who refuses to ask for directions. Let's break it down. Number 10. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Sounds like a charming, woodsy town you'd stumble upon in a Hallmark movie, right? Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, maybe a pumpkin festival that goes a little too hard. Yeah, no. Centralia used to be that, before the ground caught on fire. Seriously, back in 1962, someone accidentally lit an underground coal mine on fire, and it's been burning ever since. That's not metaphor. It's literally been on fire for over 60 years. Now the population, 5 people. That's not a joke. That's a census. What's it like to live in Centralia today? Crime rate. Basically zero, because who's committing crime in a ghost town? Cost of living? Practically free, if you don't mind occasional sinkholes. Rent? Doesn't apply. The government bought out and condemned the whole town. Job market? Only if you're into ghost hunting or YouTube documentaries. Air quality? Depends on how much you enjoy inhaling coal smoke. One Redditor said, "It's the kind of place you visit once, then tell your friends about when the campfire starts getting boring." Same energy as grandma's haunted basement. The emotional consequences? Isolation. The kind where even your shadow stops showing up. Financially, it's, well, how do you calculate ROI when the earth's trying to eat your garage? And let's talk about that smell. Imagine rotten eggs mixed with bonfire and regret. Who thought it was a good idea to dump trash into a coal mine and then light it on fire? That's not a town plan. That's a supervillain origin story. And don't even get me started on the cracked streets, steaming like they're late for a Metallica concert. You want an open house tour? Just follow the sulfur cloud. Picture this. You step outside your front porch, coffee in hand, and the sidewalk hisses at you. The fog isn't weather, it's toxic gas. It's peaceful, in a post-apocalyptic, no mail today kind of way. And if you think Centralia is wild, the next place somehow made weird a competitive sport. Number 9. Bodie, California. Welcome to Bodie, California, aka the Wild West's most overachieving ghost town. Once a booming gold rush hub in the late 1800s, this place had over 10,000 residents, 60 saloons, and probably more bar fights than bachelor's degrees. Now, it's frozen in time like a cowboy-themed snow globe. No Starbucks, no traffic, no people, unless you count tourists and the occasional raccoon gang. Here's what the lifestyle looks like today. Population, technically zero. It's a state historic park now. Crime rate, zero. Unless you count historical reenactors stealing the show. Rent, hope you like camping or squatting near collapsed general stores. Job market, you could apply to be a park ranger or full-time ghost. Quality of life, rustic. If your idea of luxury is no electricity, you're gonna love it here. Bodie is cool, but I swear one of the buildings growled at me. Accurate. Want to live in Bodie? Too bad, you legally can't. But even if you could, imagine investing in property where your nearest neighbor is a tumbleweed and your mailbox gets snowed in until June. It's beautiful. It's eerie. It's aggressively silent. Look, I love a good step back in time moment as much as the next millennial who romanticizes the past, but Bodie? This town has wind so strong it'll slap the hat off your great-great-grandpa's ghost. And don't even try getting cell service. Bodie thinks the internet is witchcraft. Picture this. You wake up to the sound of nothing. Literally nothing. You step outside into crisp mountain air. Wooden buildings lean at weird angles. The sun hits the rusted-out wagon, and suddenly you hear a floorboard creak behind you. but there's no one there. Chill vibes, right? Would you spend one night alone in Bodie or nah? Drop a yes or a hard nope in the comments. And if you think Bodie is chilling, the next town actually straddles two states, and neither of them really wants it. Number 8. Rhyolite, Nevada. Alright, if you ever wanted to live inside a Fallout video game, but with less radiation and more art sculptures, Rhyolite, Nevada is your place. Once a booming gold rush town with electricity, running water, and even a stock exchange. Yeah, they peaked early. It now looks like someone paused civilization and never hit play again. Rhyolite isn't just a ghost town. It's a ghost museum. Like literally, art installations, crumbling ruins, and an abandoned bank that probably still charges overdraft fees. Now let's look at what life in Rhyolite means. Population 0, unless you count ghosts, Instagrammers, or dudes named Chad doing drone shots. Crime rate 0, unless you're allergic to interpretive art. Cost of living pretty low, just bring a tent and existential dread. Rent free if you can convince the dust to scoot over. Job market, unless you're a full-time desert lizard, not great. Imagine paying 0 rent and still feeling overcharged because the only restaurant is the sun. Who decided it was a good idea to build a town in the middle of the Mojave Desert with no lasting water source, then throw in some ghost statues just to freak people out? I mean, nothing screams settle down here like heat stroke and surrealist Jesus art. This place is Burning Man if nobody cleaned up afterward. Imagine stepping out of your sleeping bag at sunrise. You stretch, sip some lukewarm canned coffee, and look out at crumbling stone buildings glowing orange in the morning light. Then a dust devil whips past you like a caffeinated tornado. You're not scared, you are the vibe. Remember Bodie's wind slap ghost energy? Rhyolite's like that, but add sand in your teeth and a statue of the Last Supper made of white sheets. Yeah, it's that kind of weird. By the way, Rhyolite once had a 3-story schoolhouse. Now it's just 3 stories of oops, we messed up. And if you thought Rhyolite was strange, wait till you see a town that literally no one agrees who it belongs to. Number 7. Cairo, Illinois. Say hello to Cairo, Illinois, the town that should have been a major Midwest metropolis, but somehow ended up as a real-life history lesson in what not to do with potential. Located at the literal meeting point of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, Cairo could have been St. Louis's cooler, wetter cousin. Instead, it's a ghost town that looks like someone hit pause in the 1960s and forgot to come back. Or maybe they just read the Yelp reviews. Let's get into the stats, shall we? Population, down to about 1,700 from over 15,000 in the 1920s. That's not decline, that's evaporation. Crime rate, 114% higher than the national average. Yes, Cairo is out here trying to beat its own high score. Median rent, around $550 per month, but good luck finding a place you actually want to rent. Job market, local unemployment consistently hovers around twice the national average. Quality of life, let's just say Cairo's been through it. Racial tension, political corruption, economic collapse. Not exactly the Midwest dream. Cairo's like a movie set for a town that got nuked, but without the CGI budget. Rent's cheap, crime's high, jobs are rare. Cairo's like the Dollar Tree version of a big city, but the power's out and someone already stole the batteries. Okay, can we talk about the vibe for a second? Cairo has 2 rivers, historic architecture, wild river views, and somehow still feels like the setting for an apocalyptic video game. It's like Mother Nature handed them all the ingredients for success, and the city just yeeted it into the floodplain. Now imagine this. You wake up to the sound of foghorns echoing off 2 mighty rivers. You walk past grand old buildings that whisper secrets from the Civil War. The air smells like river water and rust. You feel the history. You also feel very alone. The stats said vacant, but your gut says run. Cairo once had the first free library in Illinois. Too bad the most borrowed thing now is hope. One town on this list has 0 crime and no people. Cairo has people, and that's kind of the problem. Picture yourself sitting on a wide porch overlooking 2 historic rivers. It's quiet. The sun reflects off the muddy waters. It almost feels peaceful until you remember the economic collapse, boarded up businesses, and the fact that your neighbor's house has been empty since '93. Stats don't lie. This ain't the fresh start you hope for. And if Cairo had you raising eyebrows, wait till you meet a town that actually vanished without a fight, like poof gone. Number 6. Glenrio, Texas, New Mexico. Glenrio. A town so ambitious, it couldn't decide which state to be in. Half of it is in Texas, the other half in New Mexico, and none of it has seen action since Route 66 went out of style. Once a bustling pit stop for road trippers, Glenrio is now basically a ghost town with commitment issues. There's no post office, no grocery store, and depending on where you stand, the laws could literally change with your next step. It's like if a tumbleweed had dual citizenship. Let's break it down. Population 0, not figuratively. 0. Zilch. Nada. Median home value, $0 because no one lives there, and Zillow has no idea what to do with that. Crime rate, technically very low, unless you count trespassing ghosts. Job market, about as lively as a fax machine in 2025. Cost of living, free if you bring your own water, power, and literally everything else. And yes, the only business left is a long-abandoned gas station that somehow still looks like it's waiting for a customer. Glenrio is the only place where you can walk from one state to another and still not find a working toilet. Okay, I get the appeal of living off the grid, but Glenrio took that a little too literally. It's like someone hit pause in the 1970s and never came back. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, and the only nightlife is the coyotes howling at your questionable life choices. At this point, even raccoons are thinking, meh, let's move to Amarillo. Imagine waking up in a crumbling motel room where half your body's in New Mexico and the other half's in Texas. You stretch, open the door, and are greeted by complete silence. No traffic, no people, just wind, dust, and a creaky "Eat Here" sign swinging in the breeze. Spooky? Maybe. Peaceful? Also yes, until you remember the nearest cell signal is 12 miles away. And if Glenrio feels deserted, the next town makes it look like Times Square on New Year's. Remember when I said Thurmond had 5 people? Glenrio looked at that and said, whoa, that's way too crowded. Alright, loyal weirdos, quick pit stop before we dive back in. Centralia's underground blaze has been burning for 60 plus years. No heating bill though, just sinkholes. In Rhyolite, tourists once called 911 because they swore the ghost sculptures were real people. True story. Did we cover your town or leave it in the dust? Drop a yes or hard nope in the comments. And hey, hit like, because this video makes cheaper therapy look expensive. Remember me warning you about Bodie's wind slaps? You know who you are. There are more living souls in a Kardashian group chat than in some of these towns. Subscribe like it's your emergency exit, because next up, things get weirder. If you thought empty was extreme so far, the next ghost town didn't just vanish, it ghosted 2 whole counties. Buckle up. Number 5. St. Elmo, Colorado. Welcome to St. Elmo, Colorado, a picture-perfect ghost town tucked in Rockies where the buildings look preserved, the mountains look eternal, and the population doesn't exist. Seriously, this town has 0 permanent residents. It's like Airbnb built a set for a horror movie and then forgot to turn off the fog machine. People say it's one of the best preserved ghost towns in the state, which is just Colorado speak for nobody lives here, but the woodwork still slaps. Now let's talk numbers, because even dead towns come with bills. Population, technically 0, unless you count squirrels with a tax ID. Median rent, $0 obviously, but you can rent a rustic cabin for about $120 to $300 per night. Just you, the stars, and whatever's making that noise behind the outhouse. Crime rate, basically non-existent, unless you trespass on a ghost's property. Job market, about as lively as the town itself, unless you're a historian, YouTuber, or bear. Altitude, 10,000 plus feet. Great for views. Terrible for lungs. Living here full-time? You'd need off-grid survival skills, 4-wheel drive, and a questionable relationship with loneliness. One Reddit user put it best. It's the kind of place where you wave at a moose and it waves back. Yeah, that tracks. And don't let the cute wooden storefronts fool you. This place gets absolutely buried in snow. It's like nature built a snow globe, shook it violently, and left you inside without a shovel. Okay, how is it that this town gets more tourists in July than residents year-round? And let's talk about the elevation. I went there, took 5 steps, and had an existential crisis. Not because it's deep, because I couldn't breathe. Colorado, where the air is thin and the coffee is $6, but served with a smile by a ghost in suspenders. Picture this, you wake up to total silence. Step outside your cabin, the air is crisp, the mountains are glowing, and the only traffic jam is a family of chipmunks fighting over a pine cone. There's peace until the wind whistles through the abandoned saloon and makes you question your life choices. Cozy, right? In St. Elmo, your biggest threat is slipping on ice. In East St. Louis, it's getting mugged for your snow boots. Balance. Be honest, would you live in a ghost town if the rent was free and had good Wi-Fi? Yes or nah? Tell me below. And if you think St. Elmo's ghostly charm is extreme, the next town literally died twice and still has a gift shop. Stick around. Number 4. Eagle Mountain, California. Welcome to Eagle Mountain, California, a town that was so dead it's been officially abandoned since the 80s, revived, and then ghosted again. Twice. That's more plot twists than most Netflix originals. Once a booming mining town in the Mojave Desert, Eagle Mountain was supposed to be the next company town success story. Instead, it became a real-life reminder that sometimes the only thing more unstable than the economy is the California desert wind. So what happened? Well, the Kaiser Steel mine shut down in 1983, and the town folded like a house of cards in a sandstorm. Here's what we know. Population 0, technically. Although there's always someone filming a paranormal YouTube video there. Cost of living, hypothetically cheap, because there's no rent, electricity, or infrastructure. Crime rate, also 0. Unless you count trespassing ghost hunters. Job market, unless you're into urban exploration or cactus photography, it's a hard pass. Fun fact, it was once proposed as a private prison site. Because nothing screams rehab like 115 degrees Fahrenheit heat and no shade. Here's the catch, even if you wanted to live here, you couldn't. The town is privately owned, fenced off, and technically off limits. But that hasn't stopped people from breaking in for ghost tours, drone footage, and TikToks about vibes. I drove 4 hours to see Eagle Mountain and nearly melted my radiator. Worth it? Absolutely not. 10 out of 10 would do it again. That's California tourism in a nutshell. Okay, how do you know you're in the real middle of nowhere? Your GPS gives up, your car overheats, and a buzzard gives you side eye. And no, Karen, there's no coffee shop. Not even a haunted one. I checked. Imagine standing in an abandoned street at dusk. The air is dry, your shoes crunch on sun-baked gravel, and the only sound is the wind cutting through empty buildings. It's peaceful, spooky, beautiful, and then your phone buzzes. No service. Yeah, Eagle Mountain isn't a place you move to. It's a place you accidentally star in a found footage movie. In Eagle Mountain, silence is golden because literally no one's there. In downtown LA, silence is illegal, and your rent is $3,200 to hear sirens 24/7. You don't visit Eagle Mountain. You survive Eagle Mountain. But if you think this ghost town is extreme, wait till you see the next one. It's remote, weird, and somehow still on Google Maps with a 5-star taco review. Number 3. Thurmond, West Virginia. Welcome to Thurmond, West Virginia, a town so quiet your footsteps echo off the 1920s. Once a thriving rail hub packed with saloons, hotels, and coal money, Thurmond was the place to be. If you had a train ticket, a gambling habit, and zero plans to live past 40. Fast forward to now. It's technically still a town. Legally, barely, but with a population of 4, yes, you heard that right, 4 and more abandoned buildings than actual humans, this place is basically West Virginia's haunted group chat. Let's get into the spooky stats. Population, 4, that's fewer people than fingers on a Simpsons hand. Median home price, not even listed. Zillow said, try again. Crime rate, 0, unless you count raccoons knocking over trash cans. Job market, coal's gone, the trains are ghosted, and unless you're a park ranger, it's crickets. Fun fact, over 80% of the town is owned by the National Park Service, which means yes, you could technically have a neighbor named U.S. government. This town is so empty if you scream into the void, it echoes back your Amazon wish list. The real emotional toll of living in Thurmond? It's less, I'm lonely, and more, I am the mayor, the barista, and the wildlife control guy all in one. And with no grocery store, no school, and a train station that still runs but never stops, you're one weird wind gust away from becoming a folklore story. Okay, but imagine ordering DoorDash here. Your poor delivery driver would have to cross a single-track railroad bridge from 1902, Dodge Deer, and deliver you cold Taco Bell to a house with no internet. And you know that guy's still getting a 1-star review for forgetting the hot sauce. Picture this. You step out of your creaky front door onto a misty hillside. The air smells like old pine and rusty train tracks. You wave to your only neighbor, who's just a deer in your yard. It's peaceful, serene, and just as you start to enjoy it, your phone buzzes and oh service. Nature, 1. Human convenience, 0. Thurmond is so safe, you could leave your car unlocked for 5 years and still find it where you parked. In Detroit, you leave it unlocked for 5 minutes and someone's already put on Craigslist. If you think Thurmond is chilling, the next place might just be the only town where cows outnumber tourists, and the cows are winning. Number 2. Cisco, Utah. Coming in hot at number 2. Cisco, Utah, a desert town so empty it makes a tumbleweed feel crowded. Once a bustling water refill stop for steam locomotives in the early 1900s, Cisco is now, well, atmosphere. Think post-apocalyptic cowboy vibes with bonus heat stroke. The town had its 15 minutes of fame when Johnny Cash name-dropped it in a song, and then again when it showed up in the cult film Thelma and Louise. Today, let's just say the only thing you're catching in Cisco is heat stroke and maybe some paranormal activity. Let's break it down. Population 0, officially. Unless you count the one artist who squats there and makes creepy desert installations. Crime rate, also 0, not because it's safe, but because you need people to have crime. Rent, hilariously unavailable. Most buildings don't have roofs or floors. Job market, unless your job is ghost whisperer or feral goat wrangler, good luck. Elevation, for 1,300 feet, that's higher than your rent budget in California. Went to Cisco at 3 p.m. and felt like I'd broken into Fallout, New Vegas. No humans, just a fridge full of dusty beer and regret. Living in Cisco isn't really living, it's more like cosplaying as a forgotten side quest. With no running water, no electricity, and no neighbors, you'll start talking to the wind like it's a roommate. And while property is cheap, technically, the real price is your sanity. Cisco is the kind of town where GPS says, you're on your own, buddy. Look, I'm all for peace and quiet, but Cisco takes it personally. It's so silent, your own footsteps sound like gunshots. And don't even try finding Wi-Fi. Your best bet is carving tweets into a rock and hoping Elon's satellites can read them. Also, the sun doesn't set. It just hovers there, judging you. Now imagine waking up in Cisco. It's dead quiet. The sky is nuclear blue. You step outside your DIY camper. The air smells like hot rust and sagebrush. In the distance, an abandoned gas station with a shattered Coke machine. No traffic, no noise, just silence. And maybe a crow, watching you, judging your life choices. Remember Glenrio? At least they had 4 people. Cisco makes that look like Times Square. Okay, quick stat bomb. Cisco has more mentions on TikTok than it does residents. Let that sink in. Welcome to Influencer Ghost Town Hell. And if you thought Cisco was bizarre, wait till you see the town that's so isolated, even Google Maps gave up halfway. Number 1. Kennecott, Alaska. Welcome to the number 1 spot on our countdown of secret empty towns in the U.S., Kennecott, Alaska. A town so abandoned, even the ghosts left for warmer weather. Once a booming copper mining town in the early 1900s, Kennecott was the Silicon Valley of its time. If Silicon Valley had more bears than Wi-Fi and everyone smelled like pickled fish. Now, it's a picture-perfect skeleton of the past, surrounded by glacier-covered mountains, old wooden buildings, and a silence so deep it echoes. Oh, and by the way, it's technically inside a national park. So if you're looking for neighbors, your best bet is moose. Here's what living, or surviving, here would look like. Population 0, unless you count seasonal park rangers and hikers who made a wrong turn. Cost of living, insane. You have to fly or hike in. Amazon won't even ship your panic orders here. Crime rate, 0, unless you count theft by bear. Job market, jobs? You mean subsistence survival, and panicking when the generator breaks. Average winter temps, minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Because why not freeze while being isolated? Live nearby one summer. Beautiful. But if you hear footsteps at night, it's either a moose or the wind messing with your mind. Either way, you're not sleeping. Living in Kennecott would be like starring in your own nature documentary. Except no one's filming, and your co-star is Frostbite. The vibe is peaceful, sure. Until you realize there's no hospital, no gas station, and your cell signal gave up 8 miles ago. Kennecott is proof that Alaska looked at winter and said, let's crank that difficulty slider to expert mode. Okay, I love a scenic town as much as the next guy, but Kennecott? This place is stunning and straight up terrifying. It's like Mother Nature created a postcard and then said, let's see who's crazy enough to live here. No roads, no stores, no coffee, not even bad coffee. Just endless wilderness and buildings that look like they're one snowstorm away from starring in a Netflix true crime doc. Imagine stepping out of your tiny cabin. The air is crystal clear and so cold it punches your lungs. You hear nothing but the crunch of snow and maybe a raven circling above. In the distance, giant red mill buildings clinging to a white mountain. It's stunning. It's silent. It's totally empty. And yes, your frozen nose hair confirms you're alive. I visited Kennecott once and immediately felt like I needed to whisper. The whole place feels haunted or like the mountains are judging you for bringing trail mix. Like this video because you survived 10 ghost towns without peeing your pants. Subscribe if you want more survival tips like don't move to a town where the grocery store is a 4-day sled dog trip away. Picture a life with no traffic, no stress, and air so clean it's almost suspicious. You wake to pink mountain light, go to bed with silence so pure it rings. But remember Cisco? At least they had sun. Here, you're in the shadow realm of frozen dreams. So yeah, Kennecott. It's scenic, it's historic, and it's the only town on this list where your Wi-Fi signal dies before you do.